Alright, this is going to be your final introduction to views and viewports using AutoCAD. I will point out that in Civil 3D, V, the shortcut V from my cursory exploration will get you the view command. That is how important it is. What we're going to do here is we're going to introduce you to how, I think you already know how to deal with aerial photography from Google and some other sources. We'll be getting more and more into how you deal with coordinate systems and bringing things in. We're just going to do a real quick, just purely as a measure or means of explanation for views, bring in an aerial photograph from of Mid-State Technical College in Stevens Point, which was gathered just using a screen grab from www.stevenspoint.com. This is 3-inch pixel resolution at the site. We'll see what it looks like when it comes into AutoCAD. We're not using any of the extra tools like raster and the like. We're just doing this with standard image tools. So what I'm going to do first is start a new file, make sure we're in the right template, a decimal foot template. We're going to get good at starting to unresolve our references here, going to the model, and realistically we're going to get good at starting to add extra layers when we need to. So I'm going to click here and go to layer property, and I'm going to make a new layer and call it images. You must be used to that by now. I'm going to double click on that to make that my current layer. I'm going to use, remember that we bring in images by the Xref command. Xref will be for lots of different things. You see in Civil 3D we'll be using actually data shortcuts, but I'm going to bring in my image to this image layer by using Xref. I type that in. It is a kind of a key command to learn how to bring in just by typing. It would be under the insert ribbon, but we're going to attach an image. We're going out to our desktop, and this was a JPEG image, it would appear. I'm going to bring that in here. I am going to, quite often you might know the scale and everything on this, but in this case we don't. I'm going to click it on here and bring it in and look for something now I know. I want to point out here that this is actually pretty good at showing 218 feet. Realistically, you want to find the largest thing that you know. It might be a section line or 2 section corners, because when you talk about relative scale. I'm going to also point out when you bring in aerial photographs, you want to make sure that you do check the scale in both the north, south, and the east, west. As you're dealing with GIS data, it should be correct, but very often because of something called projections, the latitude length of 1 degree latitude and 1 degree longitude is not the same here, so the scale might be off in the north, south, and east, west direction. We see here we have something that's 218 feet, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a line exactly 218 feet. There's lots of different ways to do this, but what you're doing is generally translating, rotating, and scaling to a couple, 3, 4 points. In this case, I'm just going to do it to these 2 points. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. I should know a place on the earth this is. I don't, so I'm arbitrarily clicking it here, and I'm typing a line that's 218. Now, you see, obviously, this is, I'm going to hit Escape, Zoom, E. This is much larger. We're going to learn to use draw order a fair bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this point here down just to that line. I'm going to do it by saying move this entity from that point, and realize how much you can zoom in to where shift right click the end point of that. And now we're going to use the align command. Great command. Just learned it last semester, if you can believe that. And here's what it does. It translates and rotates at the same time. So I'm going to type align, select my objects, and it's going to ask me first source point. Obviously the first point is the same. The destination point is the end point as well. So the source and the destination are the same. The second source point will be the source is the drawing, and the second destination point you'll see will be the end point, hopefully. End point of that. Now I'm going to hit a return here. Chances are it didn't do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to escape out and zoom extents so I can see everything there. You start to realize how important views are. What I'm going to do now is make a circle. So I'll be able to going to grab right there. I'm going to pull that out so I'll be able to see it. If you remember now, I know that the starting point of this line is also my base point on the drawing. And now I'm going to say align again. I'm going to select my objects. My source point is the end point of here. My destination point is the end point of there. Again, learn to keep these off. Second source point is going to be the center of that circle. Second destination point is the end point of that line. Third source point, there is none. I'm going to hit return. Yes, scale. And our very big hope here is that this line is 218 feet, which it always was. At this point, you would be truthing around the drawing. 219. Must have been what I drafted. We'll call that good. Again, we're just showing you how to do views here. Now let's just say zoom E. Let's say I wanted to actually get a view of just this wing right here, right? Just that wing right here. So the first thing I might do is go to a layer that makes sense. I might make a layer, call it, I might go and say a new layer and call it views or plot view or whatever you might do. I'm going to double click here. I'm going to actually start using the line weight when we get going soon, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to go ahead and draft a box that makes some sense on my 7x9 paper. So I'm going to try to do a box at 70, 90. Now that's 70, 90. I could have gone 90, 70. So I might watch how you're doing this. I've selected, I've left click it, click spacebar, rotate 90 degrees, and I've just used a snap edit. Another huge thing to start using in Civil 3D. I am going to move that. Let me try it again. I'm selecting, left clicking, spacebar, move. I can move that where I want to be. I can left click, spacebar, rotate. And in this point you would probably do ref and start rotating. Screw that up. I'm going to hit undo here. I'm going to grab these things. Left click, spacebar, rotate. Something like that. I'm going to go ahead and move that, not take the time here because I'm trying to do this in 10 minutes to make the view. Now I've got a basic view I wanted to use there. What we need to do now is make a UCS, user coordinate system, using new and 3-point. You can do it another way. We're going to also introduce you to point filters, but I would recommend you start and get this down first. The command is UCS, new, 3-point. The origin point, shift right click. The end point of there, Z of 0. Positive x-axis, shift right click. The XY of the end point, Z of 0. Shift right click. The XY of the end point of there, Z of 0. You now have a new coordinate system. You can say plan. You can then zoom into where you want to go, and now you can make your view.